Okay, guys, got a fair amount of it doesn't look like we did much, but the parts we did were pretty big right now. So I'm gonna try to shine as much light here as we can without losing our picture, though. I do want to say WD-40 for the exhaust stuff. This is awesome. You need to use this. What I do when I can, as soon as it's easy to get to them, I spray down those V-band clamps around the Y pipe and on the down pipe. If you spray a little of this on, well, I mean, I get them pretty, I'm a little liberal about my use with it, but it does work great. Also, the rear turbo bolt, I did use this. This is an 03. Those of you know, my rear turbo bolt is a pain in the butt. So, use this on, I'm going to use this on my exhaust pipe later for when I need to remove the Y pipe. So, there's 3 bolts on the turbo that we took off, and both V-band clamps. So I'm going to take this out of here, show you this. Bad video. Okay, so that clamp around that exhaust pipe that's opened up, that's one V-band clamp. If it doesn't start loosening up as you loosen that bolt, I was actually able to loosen it with my hand. If you see, we look lined up pretty well on my Y pipe. That can be a leaking point. But I was able to get this loose with my hand. You just kind of pry it open. If not, take a pry bar and just give it a pop. If you've put that WD-40 on, it's going to come right off. I don't know if it's dumb luck or not, but when I use WD-40 on these V-band clamps, I tend to have more success than I have with PB Blaster. Josh really likes PB Blaster, but for some reason, I think WD-40 works a little better here on these, and there I've already kind of taken that side off a little bit. So now I'm not going to be able to show you the rearmost bolt until I get this turbo out and the pedestal off, but right down here, I'm not sure how well that's showing up, there's one bolt, and on this other side and right down there is another bolt. And again, there's one in the very rear. There are people that have shown really good video of it. I am not one of those people that will be doing that. But typically to remove the turbo, I use a crowbar right in the center and pop it up. Problem with that method is the crowbar I was using was Josh's, and I did not think about it until now, even though I was up at his house getting tools earlier. So I do have some pry bars, and oh, I forgot one thing. I'm gonna hop up on the truck and I'll talk to you guys from there. So you have your turbo feed tube for oil. It's 2 bolts on top. There is a gasket in there. You want to make sure you get that out. Doesn't have to come out when it's in the truck, but at least when you're out, make sure you get it off. I have seen them stick to the turbo itself, so you want to get that off so you can get a good seal on your next one. They're not reusable. I tried, because I'm a moron. And then there's one bolt down here. I just took a pair of pliers and yanked up, and you can take this out. I already broke this stuff loose, so you guys aren't watching that. 2 bolts up top, 1 down low. This one down here, definitely be careful, don't over torque it. You'll see that on Josh's truck at a later date here, why that's a bad idea. O-ring to replace, that comes in the kit with the turbo stuff when you get the gasket for up top there. I'm gonna need new parts area. So, get my light back up here. All I'm doing here it's already off now, so you probably won't be able to see much as I climb up here and pull it out, but we'll try to be careful with your wiring harness here. But so I just set it basically where the alternator goes. From here, there's your turbo. From here, there's your turbo drain tube. That's right in the middle here. Rest with that, it just pulls straight towards the front. This is the updated one. If you're unsure, if you have an updated one, just go buy a new one. It's cheap insurance. It lets the oil drain better, so you're not cooking your turbo then. I don't have this in frame. This is the updated one. If you're not sure if yours is the updated drain tube that lets it drain better, just go buy a new one. It's cheap insurance. 2 O-rings here. I have reused these before. However, I also have had them go bad on like the 3rd time they were reused by a shop. So you want to change them out. So truthfully, probably the biggest pain of all this job is really done. It's just small stuff from here. Next I'll show you, I'm going to remove 4 bolts on my oil housing here, and that just lifts up and out. And there's 3 or 4 bolts on the turbo pedestal. I'm going to loosen them up and take that out. I'll show you guys after I have that all loosened up and I'm pulling it out. Okay guys, it's getting kind of late here. Alright, so ran into a pretty dumb problem. I had a hard time getting one of my fuel bowl lines off, so that was not fun. That was actually the hardest thing I've encountered thus far. You want to be careful with your fuel lines. You don't want to put too much torque on them, you can break them. But let's see here, so I'm going to go over what I'm taking out here. So there's 4 fuel lines that are all disconnected, and there's 4 bolts around this oil filter. I already pre-broke these loose. There's that. Be careful, there's still a little bit of fuel in there apparently. So that's out, and I did want to take this time to say, I would prefer to remove the turbo with the filter housing still on. That's just a plastic piece that your filter sits on. You don't want to break that, and it'd probably be pretty easy to break with that pretty big turbo coming out. Next, next here I have the, next I have the turbo pedestal. I think that is ready to come out. I think I kept 2 of the bolts in. Yep. Okay, so there's one here, one here. This sits in like this. Your drain tube comes up here. So you have 2 bolts on the left, 2 on the right, and you gotta kind of move it out to the side to get it out of there, but that comes out pretty easy. Hey guys, welcome back. It is now getting pretty late here, but my intake's almost out. I did just go take a little bit of a break. I've been working on the truck for quite a while, but only problem I'm having that's holding this intake manifold in still is there is a bolt, bolt in the back left side of this intake manifold that I can't get past my exhaust. Because I decided to go bigger, which most of us do. Anyway, it's kind of a pain in my butt. It's kind of in the way. So somebody once told me, press it up with a jack. Well, apparently my Craftsman jack does not hold it up with my 35-inch tires and the little slate leveling kit, lift, whatever you want to call it, that's on it. So here's to looking for a new idea. I will get back to you guys when I get it figured out. Thanks. This bolt is what's kept me for a while here. What I ended up doing is taking a pry bar against my intake manifold and pushing the downpipe out of my way, and using some, as Josh would say, love to get the job done. So that should be it for the intake here. Intake manifold, excuse me. Also, if your EGR cooler's in here, you have 2 studs here and a bolt in the rear, and then there's an O-ring that keeps it there. But generally, if you keep it clamped to your up pipe, now as long as you're planning on replacing your up pipe, because you're going to probably damage it, just give it a quick oomph or a pull up. It should disconnect. You can try hitting it a little bit, but you want to, if you're keeping it, you want to be careful not to damage that as well. So I'm going to wrestle this out, goof around with this wiring harness, I guess, and then we'll be back.